traffic light system is one of the basic Kanban systems that you would like to know. So let's dive into that one. Hello, I'm Tom. Welcome to my channel where we talk about continuous improvement in an industrial setting. In today's video, it is about Kanban, but then specifically the free-level traffic light system that Kanban, well, some Kanbans use. Now, the Kanban itself technically is the card that puts things around, and this is sort of a support system on top of that, but also it doesn't have to use cards. So, let's just dive into it, okay? This one, it is used for inventory management, like many Kanbans, but also for production management, again, like many Kanbans. And the whole idea around it is that the traffic light will tell you when you need to act and when you should or could act and when you should not act, right? So keep that in mind. We'll also first go over the goals for this Kanban because the video is going to be about how do you design and sort of fill it in and a couple of tips on how to use it, but you have to know what you want to achieve before you can really design them, right? So I've got here, and you'll have to go to drawings a bit, but I've got here 2 inventory management systems and 1 production management system. So here we've got a liquid tank, like it can be water, it can be lubricant oil or glue or whatever, right? Something liquid that goes into the machine automatically during the production, and from time to time you have to fill it up. Then I've got a fixed stock type of inventory, packages or even boxes of pens at your stationery warehouse. But this can be screws in a warehouse, this can be paper stock, this can be all kinds of stock that's sort of in a box or so. And then something quite similar is a production management system where when Kanban cards, when inventory is drawn from your finished goods warehouse or from a down the line stock, you get, as a production department, you get a card. You get this Kanban card saying, produce us another, and the unit is on the card, right? But another 5 pallets of printing paper. And we put it in. Now, what do all of these traffic light systems have in common? It is that they tell you when you should do something or when you don't do anything. And so we're going to design this traffic light Kanban to tell any of the people working with these systems, or the operators, but also internal logistics, when we are in the green, don't do anything, right? Green is even good when you do a check and there's one missing, but it's still in the green. So here, for instance, if there's one missing, it's still in the green. We don't order new ones. Right? That is the base assumption. Here, when it's in the green, production, well, if they really want it, they can do it, but there is absolutely no priority on it. Then when you get into the yellow, this is the level for act on a plan. Right? So with this inventory stuff, what you get with yellow is that for the operator or whoever is, if we make this one big paper company, when there is not enough printing paper left, because we dropped into the yellow, somebody from finance, getting a pack of paper, seeing that it's now yellow, doesn't do anything. But the stationery storekeeper, when they do their, let's think of frequency like weekly, when they do their weekly check, they come round, they see, oh, it's yellow. I will order up until the top green one. So you see, green has 2 functions, right? It had its own function that as long as it's in the green, nobody does anything, not even that stockkeeper, right? So when they do their weekly check and they see that one pack is missing, okay, it's still green, we don't do anything. But when it is in the yellow and they do order, they also order up to the green. So green has those 2 functions. And then the red one, the red means anyone who sees it, make sure that the responsible person knows and acts. So if our finance office guy is walking in again, picks up a piece of paper, well, a pack of paper, and it's now in the red. Now we're going to say, oh, I need to talk to Joe of stock keeping because we need to act on this right now. Now, maybe Joe has acted on it. Maybe he put a little paper here. I already ordered it. But the whole idea is when it goes into the red, anyone who sees it goes into non-standard reaction because we're now, well, it's not an emergency, but we have to expedite things. So we don't do it in the regular fashion. And that is also the thing of these Kanban. So the Traffic Light Kanban In production, it can even really be used to steer, but in all of those situations, the Traffic Light Kanban is a system that tries to bring some peace and some regularity to your organization. And that is the main goal. So don't go and use this to dramatically decrease stock. Use this to slow down all the chaos, right? So that you can really have a normal production system. Lots of inventory positions, and by the way, these liquid inventory positions as well, they don't really cost that much. They are not that critical to your whole business. You don't have them in huge volumes. You have many stocks of oils or papers or boxes of backup screws or all kinds of bearings. Think of it, right? That is not your critical business stuff. So usually your main critical stuff you might do with a traffic light because you can optimize these, but not per se. You use this a lot on the non-critical stuff. Now for production, that is, of course, you do that with your critical production. Here it also has a slightly different function, slightly. Again, green means, basically you don't react to it at all. Yellow means as soon as normal for production, we will switch to that product. Right, so we just finished this run, maybe already set up for another one, then we do that one as well, unless it really takes a long time. But basically that has to be in your Kanban system. So basically no unlesses. At the next opportune moment, we set up for that product that is in the yellow. Because what you will see here is that you have a number of them lined up next to one another. They can have different levels of green, yellow, and red. And you just put those cards in there. And at some point, some products will still be in the green and one of them products goes into the yellow. That will be your next product to produce. Now, if two of them are in the yellow, production can simply choose. This is the nice thing of this Kanban system. The planning department is not really organizing the daily production the whole time. You leave that up to the production supervisor, manager, whoever, and they decide based on the info they get. So the planning department is designing the Kanbans, the levels, the things like that, making sure that the whole process works. But then on a daily basis, production will just see, we've got two in the yellow, those are our two next ones. We pick either one of them to be really the next and just run with it. Now, if one gets into the red, you even stop current runs for it. And now I know there is some, if we only have an hour left or so, let's just finish it, of course, right? Don't hit the emergency stop and tear everything out. But if you have a multi-day run on and you know that this is going to be so stressful that basically you cannot really handle that, you really do things like break off a run. And definitely do things like, okay, we already had a product set up, but forget it, we're going to switch to this next one because it is simply critical. And so production will soon realize that, and they usually have a couple of layers of yellow, that the one with the most yellows gets to go first, right? The one that is closest to red, you do that first. And like this, you have a normal production planning, which is pulled by whatever uses it, right? So finished goods stock, people taking stuff, the machine using it. So the demand decides when you need to act. The colors show everyone what they need to do. And that is how you create this sort of natural way of managing your inventory, your production. So how to set this up and how to sort of think about it. With this liquid stock, usually what we have here is, and of course, if you have a little detector sensor thingy in it, you probably don't even need a Kanban, right? So we've got somebody doing the rounds, checking on that stock. Now, let's say that this is a lubricant for a line that's automatically lubricated. What we design are things like there is somebody doing a weekly run, right? So once per week, every Monday, Joe goes out and he checks all of the lines, all of these central lubricators, and he just checks, is it okay? That means that what we need to have here is he'll order only from the yellow, right? So that's already giving some clues. But first we need to have that red one. So if we see the red one, we really need to quickly react. Now, on Monday, he topped everything up. So not a big problem to be somewhere here on Tuesday, we need to have something that is not that linked to our Joe doing his monthly rounds. The red one is more, who else is looking at this? So how often are people checking this vessel? Is it probably 4 times a day or so? So every 6 hours? If so, if it's at least, every 6 hours, maybe you even have a check somewhere in a checklist, although probably not, but let's say it's something next to the oil vessel is also on a checklist, and quite sure that every 6 hours somebody checks it. Then we make here the 6-hour period plus whatever time is needed to get new lubricant in, right? So if we know that Joe only works day shift and he's the only one with the key to the lubrication card or whatever, right? For some reason, he can only be there after 6 in the morning. So then we actually need to go back, and when he leaves at around 4 in the afternoon, it should still be enough. So if somebody sees this at 4 or 5 or so in the afternoon, it should last us at least until 6 in the morning when he's back. That is the level you put in there. So you see, there is no fixed level. You think about how often do people check it, what's the availability, how quick does the machine consume oil, stuff like that. And especially if it's a lubricant, bump it up. With all of these examples, I would just put it at a 24-hour supply. It's not that expensive a thing, is it? If the normal refill is once a week. Now the yellow there, that is actually based on a whole week. And then sort of based on the worst week, although the red will cover part of that. But it is based on a week where the machine is just running full time. Take one of your very best weeks, so a top consumption week for lubrication as well. And that is going to be your yellow level. So here we don't really, for this one, check what is the delivery time, because we know we check it once a week, right? And then it is immediately. So we have a measurement cycle of 1 week. We have a replenishment cycle of 5 minutes, so basically 0. That's why we take a week of top consumption. And then, how far will we fill up the green? Well, that's basically as far as we would like it to go, right? So if we have a vessel that can hold 2 weeks of lubricant, let's do so. Basically, you can go a bit lower, but when you would like to replenish every week and also actually replenish every week, you basically have a yellow and red traffic light system without the green, right? So that's if you sort of want to make the system so that every week it gets back to maximum. If you would like to have a system where, well, most of the weeks Joe can just walk by, it's still okay, because you basically have 4 weeks or so of lubricant in there, make it bigger. That's up to you. But the green does have one important thing. There is a top to the green. The green also indicates to what level will we refill it. Never above the green. So that's its main function. And that can have all kinds of reasons, right? As I said, the planning department, maybe engineers or whoever, thought this up. So somebody who really dove into the process thought this up with a reason. The green line is there, for instance, because we've got a bit of a refill system, and it sometimes when the machine stops, it dumps back a liter or so of lubricant. So you need at least a liter of head space here for those moments, right? And if you would not have had that liter, it would overflow. Can be. Or maybe there's a filter in here and you don't want the level to hit the filter because the filter should be dried out, basically. Maybe there is vibrations that shake things, whatever reason, right? A reason can simply be cost. But costs are not the only reason. Right? So you can just say, okay, yeah, we have this huge tank, but it's just way too much, so we put the green somewhere in the middle because that is more than enough cost reason, reducing inventory. But the main reasons, because we're looking at making it easy for production, are those type of practical reasons why you shouldn't go over it. They are also much easier to explain to people afterwards. So the green is the top level. Here also is it when we go down, and then let's say that we have a couple of products stacked up here, and you get that first pack of paper out, right? It's still green, so no problem. It's... Now what is this actually? Is it now green or yellow? Should we order or should we not order? I mean, it is at the level that it is. So this is why I would like to change the system, and that is immediately a small tip for you. Use the same idea but slightly differently. So like this, we see it much more clearly. Look, nothing to say, but when we take one away, it's green, right? It's good. Take one away, it's green again. Now when we take one away, we for the first time see the yellow. That is the trick here. So here it's sort of, you have to sort of eye it and then think about, is this one ordering, or does this already mean ordering because the next one, not fully clear. Now, of course, you can make the rules, right? You can make whatever rule you like, but you have to explain the rule. Anytime you need to explain rules, you're 1-0 behind. And when you take the last one, in this case, that's when you quickly go to the storekeeper. Now, you can imagine that for some you would like to have 2 or 3 in the red. That is all perfectly fine. Do not go for my levels in red and yellow and green, but for the concept. Here with these, you will often see that the replenishment times, well, here with these, it's mainly because when you buy something from outside, you will always have to take into account the delivery times. This can also be for the oil, right? If you buy a new can of oil every time that this one hits the yellow, then you also have more than the 5 minutes it would take Joe with his lubrication card, right? So when you have a delivery time, factor that in. Now, here again, I use weekly a lot because it's easier. You can go for monthly or daily or whatever rhythm you like. For inside production, a daily run is actually quite a good system as well. So don't forget that one. But if we're going for the relaxed way of those stocks of all kinds of, small spare parts, stationary stuff, a bit of the helper liquids and stuff like that, right? Then go for weekly-ish. Go for easy on yourself. And then here we have that same idea. So how do you fill these in? You also take into account how long does it take to deliver it. So if we know that we print about, a pack per week or so, and it takes us 2 days to get new paper into the office, then 1 is easily enough. Now, if we know that we have a huge finance firm and we're printing about 10 packs of paper per day, and also, you got those end of month thingies where you print about 16 or so a day, then make sure that, and you have 2 days of delivery time, then make sure you've got about 30 or so packs of paper as your red supply, because you need to quickly get it in and still have enough paper before it arrives in 2 days, right? You need to be able to continue working. The whole idea here is about making it easy for production. A Kanban for these helper things is a way to ensure that you always have what you need to produce. Now, here again, the yellow is based on what is sort of average consumption with how often I check. So again, if I check once a week and it takes 2 days to deliver, then I need to have 9 days of normal consumption, although actually 9 days of slightly higher consumption as well. Now, in the case of 9 days, I would not take the 16 packs per day that has only the month end, those 1 or 2 days that you really use it. It'll be something like a bit higher than. So go for what is your sort of 75% highest day that you have. That's what you take. Or you take a week. So a whole week or a whole block of 9 days. What is the highest block of 9 days if you want to really do this in a nice way? That is going to be your yellow level. The green, again, the green is just up to how high will you order. So if you say, well, let's just always, store 2 whole pallets of paper because we have the space and we're an accounting firm, so we use it quite a bit, then do so. If you want to save on cost, you can see, how much can we fit? Do we want to fit? How much fits our budget? The green is not the most difficult to set. That really is where you have your own sort of rules and your own wishes, what you would like. It is the red and the yellow where you have to really think. And then for production, you basically get exactly the same. Here we need to make sure that you take into account how long are our runs, how long is a setup. So if you have a very flexible job shop type factory where you can just choose which product you will do next in the middle of a run, then these can be pretty small. You can have a lot of green, a little bit of yellow, and a couple of red ones. You can also have relatively small Kanbans, so to say. So when you have a line that has a very large setup, where you spend a lot of time and probably also quite a bit of material to do a setup, you don't want to do a setup for a super small batch afterwards. In lean thinking, of course, we want to tackle that setup time, but while we still have that expensive setup, you will also want to be running with relatively large runs. So you want very big green, so that means big stocks, because it goes down, 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 down until the yellow, and then you are allowed to put all those cards through your process. So you can have a nice long run. This does mean you have a lot more stock, but we know that, right? So this is not because of the Kanban, this is because of when you have long setups and you want to have long runs, but you still have some flexibility in the planning and a lot of flexibility in taking the finished goods, because this is not made to order. This is all when you make the stock. So when you have that setup, which could be generating a lot of money, but you do have a large stock, it is not because of this Kanban system. Now, when you have a very flexible system where it's quite easy or even free to change your products out, then you don't need a lot of green. You just need to arrange that top part nicely, because at any point where it's needed, you can just switch it out. That is a great way, so a great type of factory to manage with this. If you have a production, a process type of production with huge vessels going through closed steel pipes and going tons and tons, and only the really expensive things are the cleanings that you have to do when you set up a new product, probably you want to completely plan it anyway. So there are different techniques to still do sort of a lean planning. This is not your system. This works very well if you make the stock to begin with, and also if you have a relatively flexible system with quite a large number of different products. So you don't want to plan all of those products too far ahead. You just want to have your customer decide, when they pull it out of your finished good warehouse. It's basically when production gets their signals. Oh yeah, let's do that one today, right? So that's how you set these up. Whenever you set them up, keep in mind this type of Kanban system is made to reduce planning, to reduce the management of this inventory or this pool. So make it easy. But that is something any Kanban that you do, first make it easy. Only after it really starts working, go and reduce the inventory levels here and there to also make it reduce the work in progress or the stock levels. Do not ever put Kanban in place purely to reduce inventory levels, because the whole system needs to be built up. If you put in a very tight Kanban from the start and your operation is not used to it, it'll stop. It'll just run to a grinding halt, and people will never want to introduce Kanbans again. Make sure that you introduce it in such a way that it's easy for everyone. That also means you have to put in place a couple of good instructions and teach everyone, and that's the nice thing about the traffic light, teach everyone that green means nobody does anything, but you never go beyond green. Yellow means it'll probably be okay. Unless you are the responsible person for this process, you don't really have to do anything. Red means anyone who sees it has to find that responsible person. That is the basic thing you need to teach everyone in the factory. So the way to make this easier is to make sure that the responsible person is listed here somewhere, name, phone number, email, whatever. preferred way to contact them. It is listed here who is responsible for this stock, because they know, right? But it's easy to make that explicit. But for everyone else, that is the only true info that they need. Who do I have to call when it goes red? So I hope that this will push you in the correct direction for wanting to try this in many places in your factory. My advice is to start with the non-critical parts, because this is really, really good and quite easy to set up for the non-critical stocks. And then go over also to the production side of these things. With that, I hope that you liked the explanation. If you did, don't forget to also like that video. Ask me other questions you would like me to explain, different types of Kanban, but maybe completely different continuous improvement things that you've been struggling with. Put them in the comments. I would love to make videos that answer your questions. For now, I wish you the best of luck implementing these Kanban. And as always, don't forget to also enjoy the continuous improvement journey.